Welcome to a special podcast of the Ed Morrissey Show. Joining me right now, Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst of Texas. Welcome to the Ed Morrissey Show, sir, and thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure, Ed. Thank you for everything you do for prolife.
Well, it is my pleasure, and I'd like to say the same to you. I know that you had a setback in Texas this week when the session closed before a vote could be taken on Senate Bill 5. And Senate Bill 5 was a bill that was written in response, in some part, in response to the Kermit Gosnell trial, the lack of regulation, the lack of oversight over the abortion industry in Pennsylvania. The idea here was to pass a bill that outlawed abortions in most cases after the 20-week mark. There were some exceptions in the bill that we definitely want to talk about, and to regulate clinics and require that doctors that operate at these clinics meet the same standards as any other outpatient surgical centers. Now, those seem to be fairly reasonable. I've got that accurate. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Now, those seem to be fairly reasonable standards, Lieutenant Governor Dewhurst, especially in the aftermath of what we found out in Philadelphia, the Gosnell trial. Texans appear to support this bill. The polling shows something like 6 out of 10 Texans support this bill.
Absolutely.
What happened?
Well, we had an unruly mob from Planned Parenthood and from ACLU that just went wild and drowned it out probably a critical 30 minutes, 45 minutes of our hearing. I had the votes. I had the strategy. I've been working for a week to get ready for this. I'd asked the House, I'm the president of the Senate, not to send me this bill too late when it was in filibuster range. But anyway, they did, and but we broke the filibuster about 10 o'clock, and the place went wild. God, just went wild. And I gave orders to clear the galleries. We had so much going on. People throwing things down on us from the gallery, but they were slow, and the state police just couldn't get the galleries cleared, and we had a real challenge. Still got the bill passed, but I didn't get it signed before midnight because of this interruption. Right. But Ed, I am determined. We are not going to allow mob rule in Texas, an Occupy Wall Street type mentality where the mob is trying to dictate what is good policy for the state of Texas, or should it for any state. So I'm going to go right back in starting on Monday, and we're going to pass this bill, and we're going to pass it early in the process because, like you said, it makes sense. This is about protecting the sanctity of life. Sure, this is about trying to protect the preborn. But at the same time, we've got to think about the mothers. Some of these standards in these abortion facilities are awful, as you just got through saying. We had a case very similar to the one in Pennsylvania. We had it just recently down in Houston. So we asked for a minimum standard in abortions of an ambulatory surgical center, and then we wanted the abortionists to have admitting privileges to hospitals within 30 miles. And we wanted, if someone was going to introduce something that's life-changing into a woman's body, RU-486, that there be a physician there. And yes, we are very concerned about fetal pain, and included in the bill a provision that abortions could not be, except in the case of the life of the mother, performed on women after the 20th week. So to me, these are common sense, these are godly, these are important measures that add the big majority of Texan support. And so, yeah, I was frustrated, but I'm not going to let a minority group of demonstrators, Planned Parenthood and the ACLU, block the will of the majority, and I will pass this bill here in the next 2 weeks.
And Lieutenant Governor Dewhurst, obviously you've seen a lot of the media coverage of this. The senator who was filibustering, Wendy Davis, is going to appear on Meet the Press. I was noticing before we got a chance to do the interview here that one of the reporters, one of the national reporters on Twitter, Jeff Zeleny, who is at ABC News now, tweeted out a picture of Wendy Davis's orange sneaker on a picture sitting on top of the Star Telegram, and sent that out and sent it around. I've seen some of the other tweets and comments that have gone out from people in the media about what happened. And I mean, do you think that people would be these reporters would be taking the same tack if, say, the Tea Party had done what happened earlier this week to block, say, a tax increase or to block some sort of progressive agenda item that a legislator would have passed?
Absolutely not. We have reports, and I have my staff taking a look at the video, the internet video that we store on the proceedings that evening. And if I find, as I've been told, examples of the media waving and trying to inflame the crowd, incite them in the direction of a riot, I'm going to take action against them. That is wrong. That's inciting a riot. That is wrong. We have a provision in our rules that if people do not deport themselves with decorum and they're not respectful of the legislative process, one of our rules says we can imprison them up to 48 hours. Well, of course, that was out of the question with that many people. But
right.
It is we take a democratic policy seriously. We believe in the will of the people. When the majority of the will of the people want minimum standards, well, I say minimum, but adequate standards in abortion facilities to protect the life of the mother, when they want to make sure that the abortionists have admitting privileges into hospitals, when they want to make sure that when a life-ending drug is put in a woman's body, there is a physician nearby, and let's not create harm and pain in a fetus. When that type of legislation comes up, we're going to pass it. And again, this is a whole matter on the will of the people. And can we rally our own people and mobilize them to turn out? That gallery was almost completely, 99% filled with Planned Parenthood and ACLU strong activists.
Right.
We just didn't have many of our supporters there. And
I just want to circle back to this. You think that there were people up there that were inciting a riot? I mean, your staff has seen this in the video, and you think that some of these might have been members of the media?
We have reports that members of the media on the floor of the Senate were looking up at the people in the gallery, waving their hands, trying to motivate them to yell more. And if I find examples of that, proof certain on our video, I'm going to address this firmly.
Lieutenant Governor Dewhurst, tell us a little bit about the mechanics of this special session that you and Governor Perry have called up for next week. Now, it's a 30-day session, right? So you've got plenty of time now to do this. Do they have to reintroduce the bill from scratch at this point?
Yes, we do. We'll come into session at 2 o'clock this next Monday on July 1st. I'll refer the bills to the committees, and we're going to hear two of the bills on Tuesday, and then on Monday the 8th. On Monday, July 8th, we're going to bring up this omnibus pro-life bill. Obviously, with Thursday being the 4th of July and Friday, it slows us down a little bit. But we're going to bring it up, and I don't care whether it takes Ed 12 hours, 24 hours, 36 hours. We're going to pass that we're going to hear that bill and then move as quickly as we can to pass it out of committee and bring it up on the floor. Now, I expect some demonstrations, and I'm prepared. I was prepared on Tuesday night. I was prepared with our state police to clear the galleries, but there's so many people blocking the doors that they had a hard time getting in. We're not going to have that problem this time. When I give the signal, because it's my responsibility to protect the safety of the people in the Senate, if they're going to demonstrate, I'm going to clear the committee rooms. And then when we get in the session to pass the bill, if they're going to try and do anything like this or worse, I'm going to clear the galleries, clear the floor, so we can have a democratic discussion and pass legislation that the will of the majority of the people of Texas are strongly behind.
And briefly, are there any laws that require open meetings? Because I know some states have these where you can't close the galleries for legislative sessions. What's the status of those in Texas?
Well, we have open records and we have open meetings, but where we have a threat to the safety of people, and there were a few pro-life people up in the gallery. They were very concerned about their safety. You have to clear the gallery, and what we're going to do is provide committee rooms so they can go and watch the proceedings. We're all for openness and transparency, but if you're having a demonstration which is going to impede the legislature from moving forward, I'm perfectly at ease in clearing the gallery with our state police, moving people into rooms where they can watch the proceedings either in the committee, if we haven't passed it out of the committee and sent it to the floor, or to watch it on the floor. I am determined to move forward to pass this bill. And I've been solidly pro-life all of my life. Before I came into the legislature as lieutenant governor, there had only been one pro-life bill passed out of the Texas Senate in the history of the Texas Senate. I went in the first year I passed parental consent. As a minor, you couldn't have an abortion without the consent of your parents. I passed the Woman's Right to Know Act, meaning that a woman cannot have an abortion in the state of Texas without sitting down, being examined by a physician, and having the physician describe all of the details and the information and give the information that the woman needs to make an informed judgment. And then there's a 24-hour cooling-off period before she can have an abortion. I passed a law making it a crime to harm an unborn baby, a fetus. First time in the history of the state of Texas. In 2011, I passed the sonogram bill, which is a step that women must go through before they have an abortion. So I have been solidly pro-life. And this particular piece of legislation not just protects the preborn, but also protects the health of women. It's a woman's health measure. At the same time, I have tried to stand up for doing what's right, from passing legislation making Texas the most fiscally conservative state in the country. That's why we've got the strongest economy. We're number one in job creation. But I passed legislation called the Defense of Marriage, where marriage in Texas is only between one man and one woman, and then I passed a constitutional amendment. It's in our Constitution. So I'm a strong believer in values.
Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to look forward to seeing what's going on in Texas.
Thank you, sir.